We are live, 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 live.
We're back.
We're back.
We're back, baby.
It's
We are
sending
back.
data. Let's see if it's gonna work. Oh, we're streaming on Facebook. We're streaming on YouTube. We are streaming and we are live. Let's go check and make sure it sounds all right.
Yeah, it's like we haven't done this in a while.
Oh, it's been a little bit.
Yeah.
It
So
says we're live.
it is 8:26. If you are watching with us today, go ahead and take a few minutes to grab a friend, grab a drink, grab your friend a drink, but don't take your friend's drink.
Unless you're taking it to them. Well,
Yeah.
that's what you did.
I brought you
for
a
me
drink tonight.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So the Callaways are drinking lighter beers today.
Lagunitas daytime.
Yep. So we have discovered that IPAs hurt both of our stomachs.
I mean, they're just heavier.
They're heavy. Well, it makes my stomach not feel good.
Yeah.
So, here we are.
Here
Middle
we
age.
are.
This is middle age.
This is what happens.
I think back to when I tore my my quad tendon. And this is what, 2-3 years ago? 2022 I tore it. And my doctor put that it was a common thing on middle age. It was a common middle age injury.
A common middle age injury.
Yep. So,
man.
alas, 2 years ago, I got a common middle age injury. I was 33, whatever it was. So here we are.
Here we are.
In
Why don't
middle
you
age. Yeah,
text
I'm going
them?
to text.
So this is Talking Toast. We start almost every Tuesday at 8:28, and we kind of pull back the curtain on the creative process that is the sermon or homily writing, and we hang out, and it eventually evolves into some sports talk. That's just kind
Which
of
we've
what
got
happens.
a lot of sports to talk about.
We do.
We missed like prime time March Madness
We did.
talking.
We did. And we're starting back after all the national championships and such. And yeah. So here we are.
Here we are.
So we'll get to where we've been in a second. But we start off every Talking Toast, every single one, by asking the question, what is sustaining you? And that's something that has come from Barbara Brown Taylor saying, what is saving your life right now?
Right.
What's that thing that's getting you through? What's the 808 beat that's moving you along? What is sustaining you? And we would love for you to chime in on the chat with your thumbs or with your fingers, and let us know what
Or
is
with your
sustaining
voice.
you, or with your voice. Yeah, you could use
Voice to
voice to text now. Let us know what's sustaining you, and let us know what you're up to on this Tuesday night.
Which, by the way, we had winter again today.
We did. We did have
Where
winter.
did that come from? Canada.
Yeah.
I wonder if it was tariffed.
It came in, and
It was why we
it was
tariffed the
cool.
penguins.
It was cool, very cool outside.
Yeah.
And I would even venture to say it was cold.
Yeah, it was cold.
Yeah. it was
So
really
why don't
cool.
you start us off? What is sustaining you? What is your 808 beat? What's the thing that's getting you through?
I'll tell you what. There have been a few things that have been sustaining me. One is I've had some really good sessions with my therapist, and I feel really good about that. If you are looking for a therapist, keep looking and do it. Find the one that's going to
Don't get
work well.
discouraged.
Don't get discouraged. That's good stuff. We all need it. Check, check.
Now it's back.
Now is it back? Let us know. I don't know when it went out.
It went out just at the. I mean, it was fine at the beginning.
Yeah. Is it back on now?
Let's see. Yeah.
Okay, it's back on now. Oh, well, we checked it out.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know what point it went out. Anyway, we went to field day. It was awesome. And it was really a family experience. It was absolutely awesome.
Field day in Clemson for those in case.
Yep.
In case.
And then we went to on Sunday, we went to church at First Baptist Church Clemson, and I played some music again. Mm-hmm. And the person I was supposed to play with was one of my good friends, and he didn't get to come. He had a family emergency, and so I got to play some different stuff, and it was fun. It was good to be around people and be back in that setting, and then it was also really good to come home.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I'm just kind of floating still with all of that. And I don't know if my dad's saying no sound and it's back. We had some good time with my parents. Yeah. And we kind of continued it tonight because we went to Carolina Express. I don't know if you've been there or not. There are a few different Carolina restaurants.
If you live in the DMV, there are, I think, 6 locations.
6 or 7
in the area.
There was one up in Owings Mills that we went to. Is that Owings Mills? Or is that...
Owings Mills, and then they have one in Silver Spring. They have one in Largo. Yeah. Just kind of all around. They're getting ready to open one in Bowie.
But Carolina Express, I'm telling you, like, some of the best... Like, it just took me right back. It was comfort food.
Yeah, I just had flashbacks of, like, Sunday afternoon lunch in Bennettsville after church.
Yep.
And going to the soul food restaurant.
I tell you.
It was an experience. I was not in a happy mood to be going. I wanted to eat somewhere else. And I was having a pity party for myself because my family drugged me in there. And I didn't want to eat it. But I got in there, and my heart grew 3 sizes. I was not a Grinch anymore. I was being a Grinch. But they learned they learned that it was our first time there, and they like sang us a song. It was but as soon as I tasted the food, I was like, "Oh yeah, we made the right decision."
Yeah. It's phenomenal.
It was so good.
Candied yams, macaroni and cheese, collard greens, green beans.
Green beans were
gosh.
Buttery.
It was phenomenal.
So good.
So yeah, I had a good time with family, good music, good food. That's all sustaining me. What is sustaining you?
You took it all.
Sorry.
No, so I in case the sound was out while he was talking, I stayed home with our dog who's been having a hard time with her back. And so I had a quiet weekend. It was really interesting because I had an all-day meeting on Friday at work that I had to go to in the city. And I left at like, I don't know, 7:30 in the morning because I wanted to go treat myself to breakfast in our old neighborhood. And so I walked in, got my breakfast, did the whole like, oh, I'm just like taking my sweet time because I'm super early for my meeting because I didn't have family in the house.
Did you go to THB?
Yeah.
Nice.
And then I walk into the meeting and I'm thinking, my book bag feels really light. I left my computer. And so I had this theory that like my brain just didn't know how to function with quiet. My brain was very accustomed to functioning with a lot of stimulation. And so it took a little...
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I mean, I don't understand.
So it took a little while to get used to it, but I sat all day on Saturday, and read. It was glorious.
Good for you.
I read 2 different books, and I wanna do a plug here. I'm doing a little beta read for a friend, Zach Helton, and he is working on crowdfunding his first novel, and it's called The Meta Valley Gospel. It is fascinating. I'm going to drop a link in here so that if you're interested in kind of an alternative Jesus story that reads Jesus as just an ordinary human. This is the story for you. It is an incredible book, so well written. Gives off some Alchemist vibes. It's like Alchemist meets The Giver meets...
The Thomas Jefferson Bible.
Not really.
Oh, really?
Jesus goes to India, so it's like
Okay, I gotcha.
It's a little imaginative. So anyway, it's a really fascinating read. So Meta Valley Gospel, look it up, back the project because it's amazing.
Lori said, I came to music rehearsal without my music, and another participant came with an empty instrument case. There you go. So maybe
That's
it's
what
just
happens. Maybe it's in the
maybe we're
weather.
Yeah,
It's in the air.
it's in the
There's something in the air.
atmosphere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we have not done Talking Toast in a few weeks. And it's been an interesting few weeks for us. It's funny because we haven't been seen together in church for 3 weeks. We are very much still together. That is not an option. Everything is fine. It just so happened that we had 3 weeks that we were passing like ships in the night.
Yeah. We yeah, because I didn't even think about that because that matched up with your hiking trip.
Yep.
And then the next week I had to take some days. It was just it got heavy and I needed to take some time off. And so I did. And that was really, really life-giving. And then this weekend with Sophie, we were all supposed to go together, and I hate that it didn't work out that way, but yeah.
It was fun.
So if it makes any of you all feel better, on Monday we're taking a trip, all three of us together.
Heyo.
So,
We're not going to know how to travel together.
yeah, we'll figure it out. But anyway, so yeah, that was it was just one of those times where sometimes things in life, we deal with the things in life too, and sometimes you need a break.
I think it's fair to say we've both been dealing with our fair share of we have both been doing some really good identity work.
Yeah, and some soul searching.
And cue midlife crisis. But it's been really good. It's been, realigning our actions with our intentions, are the things we're spending our free time on, the way that we're approaching our work. All of this is kind of we're just going through a process of evaluating the person who we are, and evaluating the things that we're doing in the world, and it's been a really exhilarating process.
Yeah.
It's been exhausting, and all of that has come at a time when there's been such high volatility in the general air that it's heavy. It gets heavy sometimes.
Yeah. I think about this was the time when my dad went to go buy a convertible.
Yeah.
And
this is how I know you're such a different person. Because I know you wouldn't go out and buy a convertible. But, that's how it goes.
That's how it goes.
That's how it goes.
And I think that's great. And I got a lot of joy out of that convertible.
Yeah.
And every convertible since.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, that's good stuff.
So this week, we're back in the pulpit together. And it's interesting because we haven't done this in a few weeks. It's been 3 weeks.
I'm interested to know, how...
And we're both, theoretically you're a different person every week that you approach this thing.
Yeah.
In this process. But there has been a lot of stuff going on in the world, stuff going on in our own lives, to where we kind of put our heads together when we were getting ready for this, and we were just like, how do we do this again?
Yeah.
But in all reality, in all seriousness, we've preached this text many times.
A bunch.
I used to think about there used to be some older pastors that we kind of looked up to and still do, who I remember them saying like, I just get so tired of preaching the same text every 3 years, and I remember saying like, I don't think I'll ever get tired of this.
Yeah.
And here I am years later, and I'm like,
What's hard?
you know, it's hard to bring the same amount of energy to it for the third.
It is. Second. There we go.
All right.
All right. I think that should be back. I don't know when it went out, but
I had just checked it.
okay.
So
Well,
continue with the Bart, holding the newspaper in one hand.
Yeah, and
Bible
and
in
the
another.
Bible in the other. I think that's too much signal going into one thing. So anyway, when you had it plugged in there, so I always plug it in separately, but you have to because you only have one
I only have
USB-C.
one. Yeah.
Okay.
I have a lot
That
of
was the
things.
technology brain in me.
This is my workstation, and I have a lot of things plugged in.
That's all right.
This is a metaphor for my life.
Yeah. I was thinking about new from.
Logitech screen.
Okay.
Here
There
we
we go.
are.
We
New
used
microphone.
a new microphone. So I've got to figure out if it's the cable.
We can do that later.
No, but I'm just saying out loud. I've got to figure out if it's the cable or what's going on. Hopefully it's not the microphone. Could be the computer. Who knows? Okay.
We're saying great things.
Yeah.
So what?
Hopefully, but we haven't seen if it's back on yet. We'll see.
Loud and clear.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Yeah, we're actually peeking out a little bit.
Well, we should just turn it down a little bit. Here. There we go.
All right. So we were talking about how the cuts that we're reading about in the newspaper, the layoffs, etc., the riffs, which is a term that I've just recently learned. That is, while those are numbers in other newspapers and other areas of our country, like here, their names, their faces, their neighbors, their friends, their church members, they're our people.
Yeah. And so in thinking about that, there is this general kind of unease, nervousness. It feels like things are up in the air. Um, and the only thing, in thinking back in my life, the only thing that I can compare it to is the beginning of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever there was an unease, an
Mm-hmm.
anxiousness, not knowing how this thing was all going to work out. I'm not talking about COVID, 7 months in,
Like
where,
those 2 weeks.
but those 2 weeks where you were like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
what's happening here? Like something is
Yeah.
different,
Yeah.
and there's
Mm-hmm.
a different type of energy in the
Mm-hmm.
air. That's, I think, and I'm wondering if that is triggering for all of us, like if it's
Yeah.
taking us
I
back.
I think that this is. I think that I'm seeing people act in ways that I wouldn't have expected.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm acting in ways that I
yeah,
have not expected. Yeah.
yeah, and me too. And I have a shorter fuse. I mean, I pitched a fit about going into a restaurant tonight.
But at the same time, you were equally quick to say, like, you were right about this.
I
And normally it would be like, hey, Katie, what do you think?
That's all that reflection work we've been doing in this midlife crisis we're in. So, but I think I was also thinking about that short period of time right after. Yeah, you're right, Julia. Right after 9/11 too.
Yeah.
There's like a short period of time when it was clear that we were going to war. And I remember the Time magazine cover was a picture of the different world leaders who were for war against Al Qaeda and who were going to support the U.S. And there were like two. And then there were a lot of them that were not going to support the U.S. in retaliation. And I just remember, I mean, I was a seventh grader, but I remember just this like existential dread of like, we're going into a war, maybe, but nobody really knows. Um, so that was also another like uncertainty and maybe all of it is contributing to this trauma that we carry and like now we hit another time of uncertainty and we're like, well, I'm not going to act my best.
Yeah. Or what's that triggering for you?
Mm-hmm.
What's that? Well, this all kind of plays into this scripture, and I didn't write down which scripture it is.
It's in Luke.
Okay, so it's the Luke palm procession or palm parade
Yeah.
text in Luke. And what's happening is it says a group of disciples, and in different gospels it says the amount was kind of different, but it's like all the disciples and all the people came out. But really, we don't know how many people we're talking about here. They go to the back gate of Jerusalem. They don't go to the front gate, where the war horses are coming in and where there's a certain
The royal gate.
the royal gate. They go to the back gate by the Mount of Olives, and what they do is they start laying down their cloaks, laying down palm branches for this Jesus figure who comes in on a donkey or a colt
Or both.
depending on your gospel. uh, and but if you think about it in juxtaposition with what's happening at the front gate where the war horses are coming in,
Mm-hmm.
and then here's Jesus coming in on the donkey in the back. This is a protest. I think we've always thought of it as being a parade,
Mm-hmm.
so often, but this is a protest, and it's sort of a parade, and it's just this whole sense of, I don't know. For me, it speaks to this moment right now because there's this sense of like, what is this that's
And
happening?
isn't every protest a little bit of a parade?
Yeah, yeah,
And isn't every parade a little bit of a protest?
yes.
So I just had this image in my mind when we were in DC running. I was running, I don't know, it was like random Saturday in February. And I ran into a pretty sizable protest against the war in Ukraine. and on behalf of Ukrainians, saying support the Ukrainians, don't forget the Ukrainians, all of that, and decrying the um, friendliness that our leaders in the U.S. have had with Russia, and they marched. If you're familiar with the D.C. space, they marched from the Lincoln Memorial to the White House, and about the time that the front of the parade slash protest reached the White House, it still stretched all the way back to the Lincoln Memorial. But about the time that it reached the White House, Marine One came flying over and landed in the White House gates. Yeah, in the lawn. Which to me was the front gate, back gate kind of thing. Like the front gate is that industrial military complex, the war horses, the chariots, the win at all cost, maintain power, maintain control. That's what's happening through the front gate.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens on the other side is completely subverting that, and turning it on its head.
Yeah.
What's going on in that back gate is protest, is the antithesis of everything that front gate stands for.
And one of the words that we, I think, flippantly use at this time is Hosanna. And if you go into most churches on Sunday who celebrate Palm Sunday, most churches will have this kind of celebration mentality with the word Hosanna.
Mm-hmm.
Hosanna means God save us. Save us.
It's a cry.
It's a cry out.
For help.
Yes. Which I just think it's kind of fascinating in that. And it's not to say that it couldn't be part of the parade in this, but it has to. We're holding all these tensions within us in this time, and I think it's important to point out, hey, those tensions were alive and well, and they were pointing them, and they were holding them together.
There's nothing new under the sun.
No.
It's so interesting because the grief and joy coexist side by side in the Palm Sunday procession from the back gate, right? As opposed to on the other side from the front gate, you've got control and power. So you've got grief and joy. And you might be wondering, like, how could they have joy? They were occupied by the force coming through in the front gate. But you've got to think about, and this really makes me think about, like, a lot of the African American spirituals that came about in the time of liberation from enslavement. But you've got to think about, like, people who were so systemically oppressed were going to find ways to exercise their joy in spite of.
Yeah.
In the face of.
Think about the song "Swing Low, Sweet Chariot."
Mm-hmm.
Coming for to carry me home. I'm looking over Jordan. It's one of those songs that's saying there's something happening here. There's something to look forward to. We're going somewhere, and at the same time, swing low. That's where we are. We're in a low place,
and their lives depended on it, right?
Yeah.
So they're the people who are coming in with Jesus shouting Hosanna are simultaneously shouting save us and crying out, while they're also saying, like, this is the one, this is the message that's going to save us. Now, a lot of people look at this as kind of like the last gem in Jesus's crown, and like this is the perfect sacrificial, sheep or whatever you want to say, and like here he is, he's going to save us, and they hear the word save as like the the spiritual salvation. But it was a very tangible salvation for them. It was a very, because they had tangible pain, and they believed that his message and what he stood for, the kingdom of God that he preached, that was a tangible thing that was going to free them from the grips of the Roman Empire.
Yeah. And of the Herodian dynasty that was, the puppet king. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know what we're going to preach on Sunday, but we've got some ideas with this.
There's a lot ruminating.
If there's something in that whole thing that like spoke to you, the protest and the parade, the crying out, the crying, the
there's like all these tensions, right? So there's the joy and the grief. There's the protest and the parade. There's the crying out, and there's the crying. There's the there's the shouts of Hosanna with an exclamation mark, and the confusion and the not knowing in the Hosanna with a question mark.
Yeah. Julia said, I was told about the false bottom of carriages, so the swing low. And then in some of these enslaved people's songs, there's coded directions with the Underground Railroad. There's anyway, I just think that those things are absolutely fascinating. So we've done a lot of talking tonight, and
I don't have a whole lot more clarity. Sometimes Talking Toast is a time for us to get clarity, and sometimes it's just a time for us to muddy the waters a little bit more. And I think I'm somewhere in the kind of trending toward the muddier waters, but recognizing that sometimes muddy waters are what we need.
Yeah, and sometimes, yeah, the muddy waters, but then sometimes it needs more time. Like the Tao Te Ching talks about waiting, being patient until the mud settles.
Until the mud settles.
And so, yeah.
Can you tell what we've gotten into in the last week? In the last couple of weeks. Like, John just made a Tao Te Ching reference.
Well, on that note, friends, we need to do some toasting. So, Katie, will you start us off? I don't know what we toast to with this tonight.
To the Tao Te Ching. Which translation
to your muddy waters.
By the way? Oh, because I know you've got a favorite.
I just can't remember the guy's name all of a sudden.
Well, friends, go from wherever you are to wherever you're going, and recognize that sometimes muddy waters are good for you. To sit in the tension of it all, to not be consumed by it, but to have a sense of the joy that is to come.
And may you find joy also as those things settle, because eventually things do settle. And it may not reveal what we think it's going to reveal, but things do settle.
You talking to yourself?
I think so.
Cheers.
Cheers, friends. Thank you all for joining us tonight. I'm sorry about the sound issues. We'll get that figured out from next week. I'll get a new cable, and or maybe a new microphone. Hey, I think we need to buy a new microphone. Let's go ahead. Let's go get a new. Okay. We need to buy a new microphone. All right, friends. We'll see y'all next week. Cheers.
Next week is the Easter edition.
And yeah, next week is, can you believe it? Yeah. Holy Tuesday.
We'll be hot off a trip to New York City.
That's right.